We were born by the blood, made man by the blood, replenished life and health by the blood. Ain't that right, sweetie? Eh? Ah, I see. She's been waiting so long for my Bloodborne review that she forgot she was even alive. Oh, you're so fucking hot. Ugh. Come here, baby. What? 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 Jesus Christ, I can't catch a fucking break. Who's there? Get out of here, you fucking hunter! Get out of here, you fucking hunter! Get out of here, you fucking hunter! Get out! Get out of here! Get out of here, you fuck! Alright, motherfucker, you're dead meat. Get in this pan! And I don't know what your fucking problem is. Oh, shit. These are New England hunters, not Yarnum hunters. What the fuck was that? Hey. Wait, are you stuck on the load screen right now? Huh? Is that what this is? And I thought I was in love.
Hi, kids. I'm Darian.
Oh, what the? Alright guys, never mind that that load screen in my intro. The game has been patched since it was released like 4 months ago, so they fixed the load screen and a couple other things. I don't know what else they patched, but this review will be covering the patched version of the game, not the unpatched. So whatever I leave out, I'm sorry. I didn't experience whatever it was they patched. Anyway, Bloodborne. I'm reviewing this again because it's still $60. Most places you could probably find it for 50, maybe even $40. But you know what? Fuck it. I really want to review this game because I love these games, and Bloodborne is probably actually my favorite one that From Software has made so far. Now, it's not as big, like in terms of size, and it's not as long as the Dark Souls games, but it felt more appropriate. The Dark Souls games are like 60 to like 80 hours long, depending on how much you explore and collect and upgrade and whatnot. Bloodborne is around 30 to 40 hours long, which it's still well worth $60 because the game quality is great. I'd rather have quality over quantity, and that's exactly what this game is. Not
has nothing to do with Dark Souls and Dark Souls 2 not having quality, but they do. But I think this one actually does a better job, and I like the combat more. The story, again, no one plays these games for the story. 95% of it is all lore, so you know. But anyway, I play these games because they're so fucking rewarding. I mean, you get stuck on a boss. It takes you countless times, but when you actually eventually kill him or her or it, whatever, it's that feeling of like accomplishment, you know, and it's something that most games nowadays lack. You know, the difficulty in these games, in my opinion, is like over exaggerated, kind of overrated. The difficulty, when people say that these games are so hard and that they're like old school difficulty, well, they're not that hard, you know. They're not like as hard as like, you know, a game that only lets you play 3 or 5 lives and then it's game over. Whereas in a Souls game or Bloodborne, you have infinite lives, so it still can't be compared. But compared to everything else coming out this time around, and these games are just like the most rewarding experiences you can ever have. Bloodborne is probably it's definitely my favorite game of the year so far. Now I have not played The Witcher 3 yet, but I've played Resident Evil Revelations 2, Batman Arkham Knight, and a few free-to-play games. So this is kind of a weak year for me so far, you know. But Bloodborne, man, Bloodborne is fucking fantastic. There's like very, very, very few things wrong with it. I should probably get to the point. Well, here you go. Like all the Souls games before, Bloodborne's story is mostly in its lore, which you can discover by talking to certain NPCs.
Oh my, what a queer scent.
You think I'm a queer? Instead of recycling a medieval setting again, From Software brought about a very unique and exquisite Victorian-era style architecture. It's a theme that has been otherwise forgotten in most other RPGs. This game's exploration is like a perfect mix of Demon Souls and Dark Souls. All areas are interconnected like in Dark Souls, but you can only fast travel to each lamp you find from the Hunter's Dream, which is the only place that is disconnected, but you can access it by going to any discovered lamp and traveling back, just like in Demon Souls. Now, there's a lot to talk about in the combat. There are two things that are clearly different from anything From Software has done before, despite the way it looks. First off, the game is meant to be played offensively, as you may have heard. If an enemy hits you, you can hit him back to immediately gain back the HP damage that you just lost. Second, the weapons serve way more distinctive purposes now. Instead of two-handing every weapon as a secondary fighting style, each weapon is now modified to be used in 2 different ways. The cleaver, for instance, can increase its range and unleash deadlier attacks, while this particular one, the Ludwig's Holy Blade, can turn itself into a greatsword. You also have firearms, which are used to parry incoming attacks and follow up with a powerful visceral attack. These changes made to the formula and the combat have opened up my comfort zone for future From Software games like Dark Souls 3, for instance, instead of hiding behind a shield all the time. The game did a terrific job with the bosses, although only a few of them gave me any serious trouble in multiple tries. I mean, I was able to kill most bosses on my second try, or by my second try, some even on my first try. Father Father Gascoigne, I don't know how to pronounce his name, as seen here, is often considered one of the harder bosses in this game, and he is actually the first non-optional boss. Customizations in this game are all within the Hunter's Dream and include buying and selling using blood echoes and insight as your currency, upgrading weapons and adding extra attributes with those blood gems, and equipping runes to add bonuses to your character, as well as the usual leveling up. However, by the time I was about a dozen hours in the game, I suddenly realized that you could not upgrade your armor. Now, I understand there are a couple reasons why that may be. Probably because there's not much armor sets in the game, or because you level up your defense every time, your physical defense every time you level up. So, I mean, it's not too much of a complaint, but at the same time, it shouldn't yield the excuse to not have the armor upgrades. So, a little disappointment, but not too big of a deal. And lastly, are the Chalice dungeons. Easily the worst thing about the game, as well as my only major complaint. I never got to finishing them all, so let me explain with the best of my knowledge. You open them up using the required materials and these ritual altars that are lined up along the path. You go in and clear the exact same recycled areas over and over again. It starts off easy, but then gets progressively harder. The loot is often really good, but once you clear just a few of these dungeons, you start seeing recycled rooms, passages, and even boss fights. It makes the game feel so repetitive and tedious the more and more you do them. It feels so out of place compared to the rest of the experience the game has to offer. Luckily, they are all optional, so unless you feel like being a 100% completionist, I highly suggest you avoid them. They fucking suck. I'm sorry if that seemed like a short evaluation or review, but since this review is so late, it's like 4 months late, I tried to make it like as condensed as possible. So I didn't want to make like a 25, 30 minute long review like I did with Batman Arkham Knight or Revelations 2. But I just wanted to let you know, guys, if you have a PS4 but you don't have Bloodborne, that should be illegal. Like all PS4 should come with Bloodborne. It is without a doubt the best PS4 exclusive as of right now. There's like no reason not to have it. Like even if you suck at these games, I mean they're kind of easy to get used to. As I said previously. So yeah, you need Bloodborne, man. I highly recommend it. It is the best thing From Software has done so far. That's subjective. That's just my opinion. There are some people out there who still think Dark Souls 1 is the best, which in some ways it's still my favorite. But Dark Souls 2 was awesome, but it lacked really original boss fights, and the PvP in that game sucked. Speaking of PvP, I didn't have access to online because I don't have PlayStation Plus, which is kind of silly because I'm pretty sure From Software updated the Xbox 360 versions of the two Dark Souls games so that players on Xbox can play online without needing an Xbox Live Gold. So I don't see the reason why they wouldn't let you play Bloodborne online without a PlayStation Plus account. It just seems a little greedy. I mean, it makes sense also because most games need PlayStation Plus for you to play the online component. It was just a little disappointing, and I can't make like a 100% full review because of the fact that I didn't have access to online. So, I mean, assuming that the online portion is pretty much the same, I can't imagine it being any different. Maybe the co-op is a little bit more focused, maybe. I don't know, but I wasn't going to risk paying like, $20, $30, $50 for PlayStation Plus for that little component because I was never really a big online fan of the Souls games anyway, so you know it didn't really pique my interest. I mean, I hardly need help in From Software games anyway. Um, and as I said before, there are only a few bosses in this game that really gave me trouble. This is, for me, this was definitely the easiest one, but I don't consider that a bad thing. If anything, it just makes it more approachable for newcomers. Like, if you've never played, if you've never played Demon Souls, or if you've never played Dark Souls 1 or 2, you should play Bloodborne first. I don't know. Maybe there are some people out there who had problems with it the first time, but you know, I'm just I can only speak for myself. You know, I thought it was. I didn't think it was easy. I said it was the easiest one, but it's not easy. You know, it's still pretty challenging in general, like Dark Souls 2. But yeah, that's all I have to really say. I highly recommend it. It's also a pretty easy platinum too, platinum trophy. There's only like one gold trophy that's really, really hard to obtain, but then like pretty much everything else you kind of get like naturally by just exploring everywhere and beating every boss, and getting all 3 endings, of course. I didn't really want to bring that up, but I want to because like it's a good thing that I just feel like bringing up is that there are 3 endings in this game. One of the endings you can't obtain unless you have like unless you use like at least 3 items of a specific thing. I won't spoil anything, you know, but and the other two endings you get are open to you. So you have 3 endings. The game isn't that long compared to Dark Souls 1 and 2. If you zip through all the optional areas, the game is like 20 hours long. And that gives it more of an incentive to play through it because it's not too long. Unlike Dark Souls 1 and 2, where you know I have like an 80-hour an 80-hour playthrough, but I don't really want to play through it again. You know, I don't want to play through it like, and I don't want to play through 80 more hours of shit I've already done. With this one, you only have to play through 20 or 30 hours of shit you've already done. So it makes it more. It just makes it more reasonable to play through to get to each ending, just because the game doesn't take you that long to beat. You know, imagine if like an Elder Scrolls game had like 4 different endings, and each playthrough was like fucking 100 hours long. You know, see, the thing about Bloodborne is that it's a perfect length for what it is. You know, when I think an 80-hour long experience, I would think like a Elder Scrolls game or a Fallout game or something like massive. These games are more like action adventures. They're RPGs, but they play like action adventures. You just explore certain places and and get what you can, and nothing too expansive. You know, Bloodborne at 30 to 40 hours feels like an appropriate length. It doesn't feel too long. It didn't drag on too long. In the story, there were no fillers. You just went from one place to the next, and like half the places in the entire game were completely optional. And it made them feel more like side missions, kind of going through like, you know, optional branches of the map and stuff. So yeah, what an incredible experience, guys. I mean, as soon as I finished the game, I just hopped back on. I hopped back on and started a new game plus, and I'm not gonna quit, unless of course I get stuck on a hard boss or something. But most of the story-related bosses aren't that hard, so you know. And plus you can back up save files through a USB or PlayStation PlayStation Cloud if you have PlayStation Plus, so that like if say you're right at the last the last portion of the game and you want to get 3 endings but you don't want to play through the game 3 times, you can back up your save file to a USB, beat it the first time, okay, then close out and then overwrite your save in the PS4 with the USB save, do a different ending, come back, repeat. Bam, you have all 3 endings. I didn't do that, but I'm just saying that you have that option to do that, and it's your freedom to do that. It may not have been From Software's intention to let you do that, but it's an advantage to the player, just in case if you don't have time to play through the game 3 times. It has nothing to do with whether you want to or don't want to, but some people just don't have the time to play through a game 3 times. So, but at the same time, they want to see 3 endings. They could go on YouTube, but that would spoil them the moment. So so yeah, I can rant on and on and on about how much I love this game. It's probably in my top 25 favorite games of all time. I'm not even joking. I thought it was so fantastic. Yeah, apart from those chalice dungeons, I mean, those are 100% optional. But apart from those, this game is phenomenal in almost every way. And my final score for it is a 9.5 out of 10. Minus the 0.5 from a perfect 10 for the chalice dungeons and not being able to upgrade your armor, and just most bosses not being that hard at all, to an experienced player who has played all the previous games. So yeah, that's that. Yeah, get Bloodborne. Really, really soon. You should be able to definitely get it for like 50 or 40 bucks. Someplace. So once you see this game on sale, pick it up immediately because it is absolutely worth it. Alright? Thank you very much, guys. Thank you so much for watching. And I might have another review or mini review for you within the next week or so. I don't know. I'll keep you posted in my next video. Alright?
The Gamer Gods!